Hi, welcome to the Financial Fox. Today, a very special edition, as here with us is the well-known British investor Chris Oil. How are you, Chris?
Hi, Steph. How are you? All right.
Okay, so you are down to London for what?
Well, basically, I'm down to London doing all my normal things, wheeling and dealing in the stock exchange and in oil stocks and all kinds of other investments. But I think this is quite interesting. This is the first time I've gone on exclusively through your programme. The first time I think in 2 years, because if you remember, I was quite well known throughout the markets and in the newspapers for investing in all kinds of oil and gas situations throughout I think I've been doing it now for 23 years. So it's well known. People are well known, and they always say, "Oh, Chris, you know, what are you up to? What are you up to?"
Yeah, because you like to be a contrarian investor, isn't it?
Well, I do. I mean, I invest in things. It's funny. I sometimes like to invest in things people either shun away. And I find if they even start laughing at them, that's an excellent time to invest, because that's the ultimate, hated stocks. If you look back in my history, I mean, I invested in uranium last year when absolutely everybody hated it. Yeah. Now people are saying, "Oh, let's buy a little bit of uranium."
Yeah, we all remember Macango when.
Yeah, well, we remember Macango. I mean, everybody basically laughed at that I was in that, and I funded. It was interesting. I funded the seed capital of that. I think it was down at a very, very low price, and I think it got up to 12p. So I did quite extremely well out of that.
And they should say thank you to you to float it on the
London
Stock Exchange.
Well, yes, they should really, because they were down to absolutely virtually nothing, and they came to me, and I was one of the only people. Yeah, well, I actually was the only person that allowed them to float on the
And I think
stock
they are
exchange.
doing a few interesting things now in Malawi.
Well, they are. I mean, it's very exciting what they're doing, actually. They're, at the moment, they're drilling on the rare earth, what I call the rare earth mountain, and they're going to do interesting results at the end of the year, growing the numbers. So, so that's something to look forward to. So fingers crossed on that one. But that's basically mining. Mining was a lot last year. What I'm really interested in is going back to basics. Is going back to oil and gas. And if you look at what I'm doing now, I mean, I'm in stocks. I think if you want to know what basically I'm in at the moment, which I don't normally say, because a lot of the work I do is undercover. People don't know I'm invested in these companies whatsoever, and that's how I really like it. But what's actually happened is I've had such a high demand that people want to know, "Oh, Chris, what are you investing in?" So I'm just putting my sort of favourite ones on my Chris Oil Twitter, and people can see. But there's only a small selection, and most of them are hidden and nobody knows I'm there. But things like Anglo African oil and gas.
What do you like about them?
Well, the exciting thing about Anglo African oil and gas is they're going to be drilling at the end of July, early August, and they're drilling a multi-stack well, which is the only well in the entire, one of the only wells in the entire stock exchange drilling this summer. And the first 2 zones, it's 4 zones, and the first 2 zones have already found massive quantities of oil in the past. So naturally, I think it's going to add a huge amount to the overall company valuation. Now that's important when people consider a lot of these oil and gas plays are very high risk, and you're just praying that well will come in, whereas this one, you don't have to. I mean, another kind of play I do on oil as well is something like Chariot, where that's really a deep value play where there's been an exploration well that didn't work out, but because it's gone down to cash value and they're going to drill another massive well in the autumn, it's obviously going to return to favour. I think the other thing we should talk about, and it's a generalistic thing, is the oil price has come back. I mean, since and even recently, I mean, my forecast for the end of the year is still around, I mean, it did hit $80. It's definitely going to be $80. And the way I see it's going to be about $100 next year, because OPEC are not cutting back. I mean, the Iran situation, they're cutting a little bit and sharing a little bit out, but it's still, you know, equilibrium has happened.
So
soon.
oil and gas are
So
still...
oil and gas is and if you look in the oil and gas and the commodity plate, all the money is going into the oil and gas plate, apart from, ironically, a little bit into uranium. But one of the concerns I have about uranium, although I'm a very big bull of uranium in the long term, in the immediate term, people keep going on, well, the mines are all cutting down, they're, you know, cutting production. But what people don't realise is if they look at a chart of the uranium, actually demand for uranium from the nuclear power stations is going down as well until 2020. So the inflection zone can only be from 2020 to 2022.
So you think it's not actually the right time to invest
I just
right
think
now?
it's very difficult to pinpoint that. But what I would say, from my personal point of view, is I can't put huge amounts of money in the uranium space
and let them
let them to sleep. And also you run the risk of basically the mining companies doing large placings on you every year. But you know, I mean, at some stage, however, I strongly believe the uranium market will go up. And the good thing about the uranium market is, like last time, I think in 1997, when it booms up, you can always miss a little bit and catch the tail when it's going up. It's sometimes better to catch the tail of a big boom than, you know, catch it right at the bottom.
Do you have any particular uranium stock that you are following?
Well, I used to be I used to be a very big holder. That was one of my contrarian. We were talking about contrarian investments. We were Bannerman Resources. I did very well out of it last year.
Australian company.
And that was in Australia. And also energy fuels I did very well. Both at the moment, both I feel now are both overvalued. So basically my view specifically now is let's wait and see what happens to uranium in the short term. But you know, things are looking up. But ironically, for an investor in the UK, the big investment areas of uranium, you either invest in Australia or you invest in Canada, and they're the two areas. Whereas Britain really that's its weak point. It doesn't have any.
Okay, let's now talk about blockchain, because you changed your Twitter nickname to Chris Oil Blockchain, and everybody is wondering why. Are you investing in any blockchain company? Are you trading cryptocurrency? What Chris Oil is doing?
Well, that is very good questions. Basically, well, like everybody at the beginning, it's not been a conversion at all, because I went through the dot-com boom. And I basically at the beginning thought the Bitcoin was like the dot-com boom, and ironically I've been proven correct. It went up and it came back down again. But what's interesting as a contrarian investment, you always invest in something people don't really like anymore. And although there's a lot of people, and you look in the press and they're all pushing it, actually if you look at the prices, they're very deflated at the moment, and that's encouraged me to have another look at the blockchain area. And the one that's the most exciting I've seen, and I don't forget, I look worldwide, in Canada, I look all over the place, and mainly basically Canada is where the main blockchain people are, because you know it used to be the US. No, exactly, and the US used to be, but because they've changed the laws and it's not really a nice place for blockchain, and they're all migrating to Canada.
So what is your contrarian investment in the blockchain space?
Well, basically my contrarian investment is Block Commodities.
Oh, interesting. So London listed company on the next exchange, but building up quite an interesting business in Africa.
It is. And what actually encouraged me from an investing point of view is, you know, you put all the next exchange blockchain firms. You've got the coin at about 9 million cap. You've got the KR1 at 16 million cap. Well, and you've got in overseas, you've got BTL at about over 120 million or something like that cap. And there is a clear value difference there, and you have to ask the questions why. And I just personally believe it's looking at what's been happening with the sort of developments. I think basically that's really ready to move. And what was interesting today, what got me very exciting for the first time, was I actually read the new RNS out out, and I was very encouraged by it and what they're actually trying to do.
I mean, they have got a really strong partnership in Africa, like Dalawala, the Swarm Fund, and Fincomico. So I think Chris is trying to build up a solid business in Africa. It's not easy, but I think they've got all the fundamentals.
No, but what I'm really the interesting thing and why I'm really interested is there's two forms of me. There's form of me. Number one, it's a huge differentiation from just the other blockchain firms on Next. That's number one. But then two, what they're actually doing is mind-blowing, what they're going to be up to. And then three, by reading, the RNS and what's actually, their interest looking at worldwide, the worldwide's having a look at it. I think, you just don't know what's going to happen round the corner. And if you're Sherlock Holmes or an investor that's been doing this for 23 years, you can put all the dots together. And it looks very exciting indeed.
I mean, I'm sure they are getting lots of interest worldwide, particularly because what they are doing in Africa, they are basically the only company that is trying to prove a concept. So if they get it right.
What they're saying is the actual 2 million cap is not, it's not valuing the $10 million from one of the coins. It's not valuing the other coins at all. It's not, it's going to actually have proper income from Q3.
Yeah.
I know it's very exciting, and it's a complete change from what it was, in the past. So I'm very, very, very excited, and it's actually my contrarian tip of the 2018.
So very exciting, and we are going to look forward to see where Block goes and your other investment in the oil and gas space. Thank you very much for being here with us today, and I hope to see you next time very soon when you are in London.
Well, thank you very much, Steph. I'll do that. Thank you.
This is everything from the Financial Fox. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.